What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Bryan Matthews, Unfiltered and Unapologetic. I am your host with the most, aka the man with the plan, aka the Chozen One, aka Mr. Get Her Done. Now with all that out the way, man, let's get to this business. Ladies and gentlemen, back by popular demand, it's story time. This story is dedicated to Julius Fuller, Than a Mug Flowers. For those who have followed my podcast know that, I generally have some pretty, how can I put it, interesting stories. And although I may or may not have embellished a few details to make the story more entertaining, I stand before you today to say I cannot confirm nor deny if any of those specifics of my stories have been exaggerated. Evan, I'm just going to go ahead and plead the fifth. So check this out. I received so many comments about my last story in my last podcast. Because it was so brief, I decided to tell the full and unedited version. Now, when I say unedited, it means I'm going to give it to you through the entirety. However, it will be edited PG-13. No profanity. Dang. Anyway, now they say you got to be the hero in your own story. And one of my stories, I am truly an anti-hero. Sometimes I'm the villain, but one of the two. Well, regardless to that point, to be considered a hero or a supervillain or anti-villain, this right here would be my origin story. This would be where it all began. And I call this Meeting at the Shangri-La. The year was 1989. Location, Fayetteville, North Carolina, aka Vietnam. Our area of operation, the 401 Club. Now, the 401 Club during the week was a full-service gas station. And honestly, I couldn't figure out how they would convert that place into the hoppinest juke joint in the area. And more than likely, what made the club so popular, they didn't card. Now, don't get me wrong. They weren't making any sex on the beaches or margaritas or anything like that, but still, you just couldn't beat the price. Hence, the term fuller than a mug was created. Secondly, I truly believe that the local PD had to be on payroll because I got pulled over one night knowing I shouldn't have been driving. And one, I was underage. Two, I had just finished a 40 ounce. And well, I'm like, dude, you're done. So he gives me the breathalyzer and it came back 0.00. I don't know what they call that, maybe divine intervention or just sheer luck. But needless to say, brother was on his way. And because I came up 0.00, I was feeling bulletproof like nothing could stop me. So we continued on with our task. We were on mission. So we get to the spot and man, there are so many cars in the parking lot that we had to park in the back. Now, it's not so much of the location of parking in the back that you have to be concerned about, simply because, believe it or not, there wasn't a lot of thefts back then. But when you get fuller than a mug, it's hard to find your car. Anyway, so we fall into the spot, and I see this cinnamon brown long leg. She's like, ooh. She had this gold tooth, which at the time was sexy. I mean, nowadays, it's not my thing. But back then, it was sexy. In general, she was what I called Country Ratchet. I was slightly intimidated, and an early rejection on a sober Bryan, that would straight up kill the ego. So I had to go get me a couple rounds of Sigum 7-7 with Twisted Lime, baby. Yeah. Now, once I tapped into that liquid courage, I rolled up to her, needless to say. And me and old girl, man, we hung out for the rest of the night. Trust me, wasn't nobody more surprised than myself. After it was said and done, 401 Club closed, and Shorty asked if I could take her home. And I was like, sure, no problem. So, we got in the car. I got my buddy, she got her cousin, and we rolled out. Because she had neglected her the people that she was there with, I kind of felt obligated. Now, back then, regardless, we never rode alone, so I had my road dog. See, to be by yourself was not good policy because bad things generally happen to soldiers when they go by themselves. It's just one of the nature of the beast. People, you either like the military or you don't. We employed what's called the battle buddy system. A person you hung out with, they had to roll with you because if that person didn't make the formation, it was your ass on the line. I was young then, rookie-ish, so to speak. And this was definitely before I initiated the 007 coverted operational tactics. You know, go dark, leaving all plausible deniability on the table. Anyway, man, it's about 3 a.m. and we are slow rolling down this dark road. Our girl was like, yo, turn your lights off. Now this right here, my friend, this should have been an indicator that, hey, something is odd. Bad business is going down, bruh. So anyway, we slowed down and she was like, yo, stop, let me off here. Now mind you, this is before GPS. We didn't have GPS back then. We just used maps and common sense. Anyway, we exchanged numbers and she's like, hey, don't call me, I'ma call you. Don't call me, but I'ma call you. And I'm like, okay, in my mind, that should have been red flag number 2. Because we were soldiers, even though we were rookie-fied, because we were soldiers, we navigate our way back to Fort Bragg. Now, there's 2 things when you're in the military, especially the Army as a private. 1, you never miss a meal, because you know what? Being broke ain't no joke. You got to get that free breakfast, man. They put so much stuff out there, and of course, you like snatch bananas and oranges for later on in the day. Secondly, you got to be ready for Monday morning formation. You know, clean physical training uniform, highly pressed BDUs. This is before, you know, the newer ones that they say do not iron. And then you had to have the highly spit shine boots. This was before the suede boots, so you know you had to be dressed to impress. So we're gonna fast forward about 5 or 6 hours, and I get a call from this shorty around the way, and she's like, "Yo, can you come through and let's spend some time together?" And I'm like, I got all my stuff done, had nothing really to do. So I said, yeah, let's roll. So I grabbed my road dog and said, yo, road trip. Now, the plan was to go out just for a couple hours, hang out, possibly get some pudding pie, and then come on back. But honestly, I can't even remember how the day went. All I know is we got there, I picked her up, we hung out. As I was taking her back to her crib, she's like, no, go ahead and pull in here. So I'm like, okay. She says, like a briefing from the jump. All right, so when we go in and you drop me off, I'm going to introduce you as my cousin's boyfriend. Another red flag, people. Another red flag. Because if I'd have knew then what I know now, man, I never would have stepped to that joint. I've been like, hell no. So get up in there, shake this dude's hand. Now, this dude, man, he could have pulled out a gun and smoked every last one of us and been justified. Fortunately, got to leave out of there without an incident. So we got in my car, me and her cousin, my road dog, and we're rolling back. And I'm going to drop her cousin off. So drop her cousin off. She gets in her trailer, and I'm back and getting ready to leave. She runs out and says, hey, you got to go back and get old girl. I'm like, why? Because, dude, he recognized your car, and he opened up a can of whoop ass and went straight Ric Flair on her. Woo! Them Gators went to stomping. Anyway, so I got back down there and she had like ran down the street. So I picked her up, put her in. And I'm like, yo, so it's kind of late. Where do you want me to take you? She said, like, I really got no place to go. Do you have a place to stay? I'm like, no, not really. She's like, well, I don't want to go back right now. So I looked at my boy. My boy looked at me. He said, Shangri-La. I'm like, word. So we're going down to Shangri-La, but here's the problem. I was a little short on funds. However, I had just cashed a check and I had some money in this envelope for like $311. I'm like, this mug is about to be short. Now, although the Shangri-La sounded like a fancy spot, it was not. The only thing fancy about the Shangri-La was the name. I mean, rat infested, roach infested motel. Man, we paid like $25 for the room. I mean, that's how bad it was. I mean, I think this is where hookers brought their johns to perform their transactions. Trust me when I say, one of my proudest moments, not at all. Because I am a man of my word and I don't want to go ahead and put all the details out because I want to keep this at least a level PG-13. We'll just say rounds went down range several times until the sun started to come up. But then we said, hey, we have to get back to the bees. So took old girl back. We weren't even being cautious about it. Got to her spot, kicked her out, got back in the car, and rolled. Made it back to the bees, got cleaned up, jumped out the PT formation. With my first official grimy conquest in the books, I was now solidified as indoctrinated in hoedom. That's what we called it. Fast forward to next week, and we're back at the 4-1 Club again. I got a little newfound confidence. So it must have been payday or something, because god dang, that parking lot was full again. So I go up to get me some drinks. I say, yo, let me get a 7-7. Like, bruh, we're out. So the only thing they had was gin and juice. So I said, serve me. So we're at the bar, at least I was at the bar, 2-fisting G&J, gin and juice. Now this is before the Stoop Dog rolling down the street, smoking Indo, sipping on gin and juice song. That's how I'm dog when I say old. Didn't I tell you 1989? Anyway. So at this point, I am carefree. I am like on top of the world. Then I feel a bump on my elbow. My room dog's like, yo, look over there. Oh, yo, it's Shorty from last week. She's looking across the floor like, yeah. And then she starts rolling up on me. I'm like, okay, let me go and hit this G&J real quick. So she comes up and she's like, hey, I really had a good time last week. I'm like, cool. She said, so we gonna hang out again? I was like, yeah, I'm going to pass on that. And she was like, what? I was like, yeah, you're married, and I'm not all about that drama. She said, that's it. You don't know my situation, so don't even worry about that. I'm like, got you. I understand, but I'm not going to deal with the drama. And she looked at me like, are you serious? I said, yeah. So I chucked up the deuces, and I walked away. She was like, no. So she grabbed me by my collar, and I turned, I was like, yo, what's up? She's like, no, we're going to hang out. I'm just like, no, we're not. So I walked away, feeling like a G. But man, CC blocked me for the rest of the night. Made it hard for me to pull anything. You do realize it's hard to negotiate with someone that's sober. Try negotiating with someone when they're drunk. And that just makes things more difficult. So I'm like, what? She's like, I had a good time that night. I want to hang out again. I was like, no. I said, you're married. I'm not getting into that drama. So she looks at me, and she's got this stone cold look on her face. She takes her 2 fingers, puts it in my earrings. I had the hoop earrings, little small hoop earrings at the time. And she asked me one more time. She said, are we going to hang out? Now, me understanding the present situation and the ramification of my negative actions, or what I might say that might invoke this response, I looked her dead in the eye and said, nope. Man, she went to snatching those hoops right out my ears. Ha ha! Fortunately for me, they were cheap and they just came out no damage. That just made her even madder, because I guess she wanted me to feel some pain. She started cursing and screaming. Bruh, she started swinging on her brother, making a scene. So I grabbed her hands and said, hey, you need to chill. Now, side note about the 401 Club. Any violence against women, if they catch it, that's a no-no, dog. You're going to get jerked up. Trust me when I say, it's verified. Caught 2 beatdowns there. Don't know why I kept going back. Anyway, I'm out in the parking lot. I'm trying to go, and she's like, come back here. Come back here. Why don't you want me? Then this chick started throwing rocks. I'm like, I'm in the parking lot. I'm running. I'm ducking around cars. And she's like, why don't you want me? I'm like, because you crazy, chick. That's not what I said. PG-13. And I'm like, I'll be honest with you, I'm pretty sure there was some busted windows, because she was persistent. She was not going to take no for an answer. She's slinging them rocks, man. Whoa, whoa. And I'm like, oh, man, I got to get out of Dodge. Anyway, me and my dog, we finally got into the car, and we bonked out. I should have known then that I would always be a magnet for crazy. Anyway, I took some time off from that nonsense, and I stayed away from the 401 Club for a couple weeks. To be fair, I was young. I didn't have access to like teachers who were sleeping with their students, to give them that real education. But I didn't really know the ramification of your actions sexually and how women took that. But now that I'm a grown man, I do understand that there are levels of D that you can give women. You have D1, you have Pro, you have All Pro, you have Hall of Fame, and then you have Legendary. And believe me when I say, if I gotta explain to you those 5 levels of D, obviously you're on the bitch, or you can't even get in the game. Just playing, people. Thanks for coming by. Until we meet again, see you later. Mañanas.